Hello, fellow people of the Earth. I am E04 from Untitled Productions, and today we're going to be working on our calculator program again. And if you remember last time, we had been working on the design. It's actually been a while since I've done a video. I actually pre-record these, so it's not really aligned with how it's being uploaded, and that's just because I barely have time to record videos, and sometimes these videos are separated by weeks, or sometimes even multiple weeks. So I like to pre-record all of them and then upload them so you guys don't have to wait after I upload them. But anyway, last time, as I remember, we got basic functions of the calculator to work, like pressing buttons and clearing. These, of course, don't work yet. We're going to work on those today. But one thing we are going to do before that is we are going to add a some calculators. Like if I was to open the Windows calculator now, I could click in here and I can just, or maybe not. Yeah, I can type. See, like type numbers, only numbers though. I can't type any letters. So what we're gonna do is we're going to add a action listener to our content pane, and just to make this less confusing, what we could do is we could right click on the content pane and click add event handler, an action listener and all that. But anyway, instead of that, I want to make it I want to do it in the code so you guys actually know how to do this in the code. So what we're going to do is, it doesn't really matter where you make this, just make it down here I guess. So we're going to do content, well we can, where do we define the content pane? We define the content pane. I think we did it before here, but text output. Yeah, we did all this here. Okay. Well, what we'll just do is first of all do content pane dot set focusable true, and this pretty much makes it so you can focus your mouse on the content pane. Whoops, let's insert. So like if I was to, well, you can't. I guess I couldn't really do an example. Right now, I'm focused onto the content pane. Like you can focus onto it. So now that we've done that, we'll do content pane dot, and this is where we're gonna add the key listener. So let's do add and then key listener. And then we'll do new key. I think it's adapter, right? And then do all this. I think that's right. Add key listener. Key adapter. Public void. Well, what we can do. I want to import key adapter, that's why. Alright, so this is pretty much how you could have this work. You could also make a new key adapter everything, and then you could point this to there, but instead of that we're just going to define everything here like we did for all the button presses. You can see they did that automatically. So now we're going to do public void key typed. We'll call it key type. Doesn't have to be key typed. It can be whatever you want it to be. But the event that's going to be called is a key event, and this is pretty much like a Java event. So whenever a key is pressed, this is called. You have to import it. So yeah, public void key typed key event. So this is going to be called whenever a key is pressed. So if we do system.out.println right now, and we just did event dot get key character, and we can also do, we should probably import character, and then we'll do toString. This pretty much converts a character to a string. There we go. And then if we go ahead and play this, whenever we type anything, it's not going to work. Let's not worry about this right now. I think there's some more stuff I have to do with focusing, but right now we're just going to get this working. So first of all, we're going to find the typed letter as a string. So we kind of did that just now. So pretty much what you have to do is you have to do character dot toString and then get event dot get key character. All right. So once we've converted the character to a string, we can, I want to create a method. Now, first of all, they're just going to leave this like here. Now, we're going to go up to the top here, and where we have private, well, where we define all the variables, we're going to define a new type of variable that we're just beginning to talk about, and that is array lists. So, I want to create a public static array list, and let me just type this and I'll explain what it does. Sorry about the avast. And we'll call this type list equals new array list object. So, pretty much what this is, and there is a simpler way to do this, what I'm about to show you, by just checking if it's an integer or not, but I wanted to make it we could easily add more things that you can type, and also so you can type like plus and equals and all that. So we're just gonna do this. So anyway, public static array list object type list equals new array list object. So pretty much an array list is just how it seems. It's pretty much like a list. In fact, if I was to just get rid of this, the only problem is you can't create a list. You can't define a list. If I was going to import list, you can't define it. That's why you use array list to define it. So hold on, I'm just gonna get rid of this. Let me just get rid of all these imports we don't need. All the ones that are underlined with yellow text. So pretty much, yeah, an array list, and we'll look at this soon. But let's create another another variable. Let's just do it right above the public calculator, and we'll do public void set type list. And pretty much this is gonna be called right here. So we'll do set type list. This will call it. It's just a void. We do have to actually make the void static too, since it's going to be called in the main method. Unless I don't even have to do that if you want. Another thing I want to show you is since this main method is something I just want to show you. Since this main method is part of its own script, pretty much it's creating its own runnable script in here. We can go up here and we can click create method set type list, and as you can see, it's private, and it's private to this main method. So I guess that could it doesn't really do anything that we couldn't do with the static, but I don't like using static when we don't have to. So anyway, first of all, this type list, what we could do, well, so first of all, let's just do this type list dot add, and now we can add objects. So the reason I used object and not string is because we're also adding integers to this list. So yeah, pretty much object, hold on, so string equals text, integer equals numbers, and there's booleans which equal true, false, and then there's objects, and which pretty much covers all variables that exist. So an object can be anything. It could be a class, it can be a boolean, it can be anything. And the problem with working with objects is you have to identify what that something is, otherwise you'll come up with lots of errors. But their objects does have his purpose, and in this case it's to save variables and of different types in one array list. So anyway, I'm gonna go down and add all of the different symbols that we can type. So that's plus, minus, divide, multiply, decimal, and equals. So now I don't think I've actually gone over this before. I don't think I have in past tutorials. We're gonna create our first for statement today, and or a loop. I should call it a for loop. A for loop will pretty much allow you to, instead of typing like typelist.add1, typelist.add2, typelist.add3, there's a really simpler way to do this, and we're going to go over that right now. So for loops. Let's just create a little for loop. This is what a for loop looks like. It's almost like identifying a method, except everything is defined in here. So, for example, let's do a for loop and pretty much you define all of your variables in here, and instead of like calling a variable like you would with a method, you kind of define it in the title. So, int I equals 0. So right now we've set for the for loop that an integer with the name of I is equal to 0. and then we can do a check, and a checks in for loops will just check if the variable is less than or equal or greater than something you say, or it can check for anything, which will there's so many things you can make it check for. But in this case, we're going to make it so that it's less than or equal to 9. It checks it if it's less than or equal to 9. Of course, you can also just do less than or 10, but I'm just going to do less than or equal to 9. And so it won't continue if it won't continue unless it's less than or equal to 9. And then at the end of this, we're going to do I++. So pretty much what's happening here is an integer is being defined, I that is equal to 0, and then it's checking is if I is less than or equal to 9, and if it is, then it's going to add to 9 and loop this as many times until this check is done. And the problem with for loops is, if let's say I didn't have this I++, we would have a thing. Our program would completely stall because we don't have the for loop would just continuously run. But in this case, we're adding to the I just so that it works. Yeah, just so that it stops work. It stops after it's done. So now we're gonna do type list dot add, and I think in this case we just type it. Now, for the case that we're going to be using it, we want to do integer dot toString, and then I. So pretty much, it's going to loop up to 9 times for all the integers. Is going to add it to here, and this is pretty much the same as having all of this with all the numbers, just in one little packet of code there. And it makes you look more professional too. And it's just better. It makes when you look at your code, you feel better about yourself, and you don't feel like you're a lesser person because your code is cluttered and annoying and. Yeah, I'm going off on the tangent. Anyway, so we're done there. So now that we've set our type list, I believe that's everything you can type. If I just look here, yeah, I mean you can't really type C. So anyway, let's go ahead and go down to key typed here, and now I think what we're gonna do is we're going to create a new method, and I'm going to let me just think about this for a second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's just go ahead and go back up here. Sorry. Right below the set type list, or actually in the program, separate from the main method, we're going to create a new Boolean. This Boolean is going to be a method Boolean, so it's going to return a type according to whatever the Boolean returns, or the method returns. So this is going to ask for an object. Object name is O, and it's a Boolean. It's asking for me to put a return statement. But anyway, let's do if type list dot contains O, return true, else return false. Now I can actually make this less cluttered by just doing this. But if you like the look of that, then you can still do this. I prefer. I kind of do both sometimes. Sometimes I kind of get a bit of OCD when I don't see the else statement like this. But yeah, it's kind of whatever you want to do. I think that looks a bit better. But people who would disagree with me. If you think my code, that's the thing. If you think my code is like very cluttered and messy, I mean I try my best, but I don't code like everyone does. A lot of people like to put these things right down here. I like to put mine right up there with my methods, because I just think they looks a bit less. Like I don't like the look of just one line used for just this, but it's preference. It all works, so it doesn't really matter too much. But it's just pretty much for your preference. So okay. Anyway, now we've made the can type method. Let's go back down to our key typed event down there, and now we're going to start coding some typing. So if let's see, we're going to want to do an if statement. So now that we've got the typed letter, we want to do if can type, which is the method we had above. If can type typed letter, And remember, whenever you do can type, or whenever you call a Boolean method, when you just put it like that, it's pretty much like saying if it equals true. So, I mean, yeah, all you have to do is that, and it pretty much just automatically checks if it equals true. So, if can typed letter, then you want to input typed letter. Remember, input is a method that we created last episode, and then we'll do else. And then this is the reason I'm doing else if. Did we go over else if yet? Else if is pretty much it's like an else statement except it checks for another if. So pretty much like else, and it'll check this, and then you can do another else at the end of it. So yeah, you can have a bunch of else ifs down in a row to check for different things. Now this is going to be a bit more tricky because whenever you type enter, it doesn't actually return the text enter, just a /n. I think it's either that or that, but something like that. It pretty much just tells the Java to input a new line. But in this case, whenever enter is typed, you want to have it so that it equals, so that it gets the sums up and everything. So I'm gonna do if event.get key code equals event dot, and we're going to call a key event. So pretty much it's gonna check if the event is equal to a type of key event for the VK enter key. So whenever it checks if the event is equal to an enter key event, and if that is true, then it will continue with whatever code that we add here. So this will be calculate code, which will come later. So yeah, this has been. I think that's how you do Xavier, right? There we go. So yeah, now that we've got it so you can type, let's just make sure, actually it might not be focused. Yeah. Alright, one thing we want to do, for every time, let's just do, for now, let's just try a few things. Let's do content pane dot request focus in window. Okay, still not working. Okay. Alright, sorry. Alright, I'll figure this out. Hold on. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to pause because I want to show you guys how I debug things. So, for example, let's do, in this public void key type, let's do system.out.println, and then we can do typed letter. So now if we type the letter, we can check if it's actually typing, which it is not. So we can tell that the key event is actually not being called for some reason. So this is just beginning our debug, and I'm actually not entirely sure what the problem is. I think it's just because we don't have focus in the window. So we've set focusable, or set focusable true. I'm just trying to think what the problem could be. I think let's just try. Yeah, we have set focusable up there. I actually want to do, I'm not sure why there's all this get content pane stuff here. Let's just do content pane.add instead of get content pane, because it just looks a bit cluttered. I'm just going to do that first. Quick. And I will pause whenever I'm doing this kind of stuff, but I just wanted to show you guys the kind of stuff that I do just to clean up code, because I mean this is a beginner's tutorial series, so erasing all of this. And while we're doing this, we can kind of read the code and see what the problem might be. What? I'm not entirely sure what that even came from. Hold on. Okay, so let's do, first of all, let's do content pane equals get content pane. Here, that might be the problem. What? Alright, now I'm gonna pause. Alright, so what I did quick is I set public container content pane up here, and then I quickly did the top here. Content pane equals get content pane, which just gets the content pane from this, then we can do everything from there. That was just kind of something that was bugging me. We still haven't fixed the problem, which is that we have not focused on the content pane. Whoops, what was that? Oh, actually it might be that. Yeah, that's it. Okay, cool, it's working. So what we were doing is we were creating and we were changing the content pane variable after using it. So now I think we can do like plus, or even equals. We shouldn't be able to type equals right now, but I mean, well, eventually we'll be able to do that. So anyway, now we come up with another problem, which is if you can't type anything more after you've pressed buttons. So what we're gonna do is, you see this request focus in window thing? We'll do public void input. At the end of here we'll do content pane dot request focus on input along with clear. And now, whenever we type something, we can also type numbers and then type back. So it just kind of changes the focus back to the content pane. So, yeah, pretty cool. That seems to be all working. I think that's all I had ready for this episode. Next episode, we'll hopefully get we'll get started with another class that we'll be creating called calculate, and that will actually do the calculating, and it will take a object variable that we will create next episode and kind of change it around a bit and calculate it. So anyway, yeah. Thank you. By the way, next episode we're going to get into some more advanced stuff, so make sure you're ready for that. I mean, as long as you've followed this so far, I'm going to continue to walk you through any new concepts that come up. But if you do forget any concepts, come back and visit any old episodes, and you'll be able to see those concepts again, because I'm pretty much going over everything. And if I do miss something, go ahead and shoot me a comment. I'll try and